Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. I'm very privileged today to be joined by Dr. Khan Siddiqui, CEO of HOPPR.ai. How are you today, Khan?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. So I know it's incredible what you've covered. You're several steps ahead here. I'm really excited to have you tell your story. So we'll just jump in. But maybe if you could just start by introducing Hopper and explain what your company does and the problem that you're trying to solve in healthcare.
Absolutely. Anything I do in my life, I've done multiple startups now. They all start with my inner why, right? I like to solve problems that somebody I love has and create a social impact at the same time, right? As a radiologist, myself and my spouse being a radiologist too, seeing what is happening in the industry right now, the burnout is happening, the amount of volume overload is happening, and people are just fatigued, and how the specialty is happening. So kind of started my calling to go think about how to address it. And Hopper's idea actually started a long time ago in a memo I wrote when I was in Microsoft in 2012, the idea that how do we accelerate AI development? So Hopper is an AI enablement platform that provides all the tools and accessibilities to build AI models at a rapid pace, as well as data for training of those models on the Hopper's platform and deployment aspect of it. So we provide foundation models to train, to fine-tune model, as well as data to accelerate that stuff. So if you take a typical life cycle of a model development, takes 18 months to 2 years from ideation to getting to regulatory compliance and releases to compressing down to 3 months. Um, and that was the kind of thought process. And the other idea really was that how do we get away from point solutions and do in a way that you can actually deliver multiple results at the same time in the tools people are already using, in the workflows already happening. One of the other philosophies I've had is the AI needs to be inside the workflow that people already have, using tool systems they already have, right? So that,
Yeah,
when if you look at a radiologist cockpit, it's like six different applications open to
right,
do the
right, right.
jobs, and how many apps are you going to have? So how do you enable that, your existing packs to become AI enabled? So Hopper is not an end application. It's an API service to deliver AI results into the existing solution. So existing tax system, risk systems, other AI vendor products, things like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to drill into that in a little bit here. But so, I mean, again, as a radiologist who's transitioned into AI development, how has your clinical background influenced Hopper's platform design? And maybe what specific radiological workflow challenges are you addressing?
So for me, it's kind of gone together, right? I started my academic work in computer vision machine learning in 2004 timeframe, right? So I've been doing this for 20 plus years. So AI is not new, right? So people think like, oh, radiology is now getting, no, no, no. I've been doing this as part of my radiology career from the beginning. Spent time 5 years in Microsoft doing computer vision machine learning, right?
Oh,
So,
wow.
an academic at University of Maryland, Johns Hopkins, same thing, right? So I've been doing this for over 20 years. So it's all hand in hand, right? For me, it's all about deeply understanding the problem. It's not
Yeah,
the idea. It's like, how do you understand the problem? And how do you build these scalable solutions in a way that can solve real world problems, right? So the clinical insight provides that aspect of it, right?
right.
Like a lot of people think radiologist, all it is a, uh, find the Waldo detection kind of a person, but that's
Yeah,
not it, right?
yeah,
Interpretation is very complex.
right.
It requires understanding of clinical context, understanding of historical context, the patient context, and then understanding the image findings and how they reflect to what the conclusion is going to be, right? So that becomes very important to understand. How do you label data? How do you understand certainty of a finding? How do you understand, what is critical, what is not critical? Maybe I'll give you an example, right?
Sure, yeah,
So when you see hemorrhage or bright spot on a CT scan that looks like hemorrhage, it is pretty diagnostic.
yeah,
There's nothing else looks like it. It's spot on, right?
yeah,
But when you see a nodule on a chest X-ray, it could be anything.
right.
It could be benign nothing. It could be, granuloma from tuberculosis, and it could be primary cancer. So it's not diagnostic. It needs further investigation, further understanding what it is. So all you can do is provide some certainty metrics on It's probably is malignancy because patient is a smoker, patient is old age,
Yeah.
has history of weight loss, other things, right? So it's the clinical context that gives you the probability it's probably cancer versus not cancer, right? Or 25-year-old with a nodule, healthy athlete, probably nothing type of
Yeah.
thing, right? So even though the image finding may be exactly the same in both cases.
Right.
So not all findings are the same. So you
Right.
can't treat every single thing as like, oh, you found it or not found it. There's a lot of nuances that go into it. And having that clinical background is so important. I mean, if you look at the Hopper team, we have 8 radiologists on the team.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that.
It's not one person, right?
Yeah.
You need that deep expertise. Need to understand what is important in mammography, what is important in chest, what's important in musculoskeletal, what is important in CT, what is important and MR is again, neuro is separate, body is separate, cardiac is separate. So you need to understand those deeply to be able to build the right solution, right tools for the clinicians.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I'm assuming then are you aggregating all sorts of, data, imaging data from all sorts of different sources, and that's part of your data set, and then you're enabling basically like she said, you have a proprietary AI engine that's been whatever, past all the security and regulatory hurdles that are necessary to.
So think of it this way, right? We become extension of our data source partners, right?
Yep.
So we become the custodians of the data and we handle data from a security. We address 4 risks, right? Security risk. So we address it by contractual risks, right? So how do we ensuring from contract point of view you're doing it the right way? We secure from a technical risk point of view, right? Technically, how you're securing the data, making sure it's not leaving the platform, making sure all the things that I need to do to protect, HIPAA security, privacy, and PHI aspect of it. The operational controls, who has access to the environment and things like that, and the reputational controls, right? So, like Hopper doesn't sell data, right? So that's not our business model. Our business model is compute. So we charge for compute when model inference is happening, right? Aspect of it, right? So those are the kind of 4 things we set up to really convince our data partners, and that's what has been able to, get us to that petabytes and petabytes of data to train our models on.
Excellent, excellent. So, I know you had mentioned earlier that you employ almost like a B2B model, right? Focusing on enabling developers rather than selling directly to healthcare providers. What led to this approach, and how does that accelerate AI adoption in your field?
If you think of it this way, right? So if you're trying to build the end application for the radiologist, you're going to be replacing something,
Yeah,
right? Because 99% of practices have some kind of viewing application,
yeah,
right? So you become a replacement strategy rather than a acquisition strategy. And then most of these systems are not just viewers, right? They are full-blown pack systems with
yeah,
archives, with this. And then you end up having to build the whole thing.
yeah,
You
yeah,
want to replace it, right? Or then your user base is limited because you're only replacing those who only have a viewer on top of another pack system, right? So
yeah,
again, but if you think what is happening in the industry, right? What is Epic doing? Epic is enabling AI-based solution to summarizing, discharge summaries, to doing inbox messaging, use ambient AI. But what are they using? They're using an API from OpenAI through Microsoft, right?
yeah,
To do that. And now Epic is AI enabled.
right,
Cerner is doing the same thing, right? They're becoming AI enabled. So how do the pack system like our, IntelliRad, GE, Agfa, they become AI enabled?
yeah,
We are the API behind it,
right. Gotcha.
right? So our business model is more like Anthropic business model, which is a
Yeah, yeah,
B2B business model where we are providing these services to have the existing application. So you don't have to replace the packs, you don't have to replace your risks. We're enabling those entities to become AI enabled.
yeah. I mean, that's incredibly expensive and disruptive, right? When you get into ripping and replacing, you're really limiting yourself. So I think that's a really great decision.
And this way we take the whole industry up, right?
Yeah.
Now and people don't have to change. It's same pack system now AI enabled.
Right, right. So again, it's not disrupting the flow of work and people's habits and
Exactly.
trying to change them, right? I mean,
Behavior change is hard, right? Behavior
it
change is
is.
really hard.
So I mean, AI sits at the intersection of multiple complex domains. So what unique challenges have you faced in fundraising? So I know you've raised some rounds here, but I mean, investors, do they have concerns about regulatory hurdles and ROI timelines? What's been your experience, Con, and maybe what could you share with our audience?
Fundraising is always hard.
Yeah,
I've done this now multiple times, so every single time, right? I think it's the all about finding the right partner or right entity who believes in your vision and your mission, right? So we were very lucky to find two great, bunch of great strategic investors as well as venture capitalists who really believed in our vision and what we're trying to do and believed in the team that this team can deliver. Right. So all
Yep.
of us are seasoned, operators have done this multiple times, taken companies public from scratch, right? So that's what kind of led to us being able to successfully do this
Right.
aspect of it, right? The hardest part really is to figure out who's the right fit. So like, are you the right fit for who and what are they looking for, right? So because we're kind of at the intersection of tech, deep tech slash healthcare, right? So typical healthcare folks don't think about the investment needed to build these large foundation models, generalized models to, deploy these solutions. And then the deep tech folk don't understand the regulatory aspect of it,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
finding the partners who understand both,
Right.
who have portfolios on deep tech as well as healthcare, understand the complexities of reimbursement and all of that stuff that go into play and have the patience becomes the key ingredient, right? And that hard work is doing that homework, understanding where do you fit in, who are there, what the front stage is, and do you align with their philosophy or not?
Right. 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 So you had mentioned, FDA clearances and regulatory. So with your experience securing these clearances in your previous company, how has that informed your regulatory strategy? What's sort of the mindset that you take when it comes to regulatory and working with them, I guess, as a partner or getting things approved?
I think you have to have that mindset from day one. It becomes complex if you have that kind of figure out later, we will figure it out, right? If you start, like, we started a quality management system at Hopper before we wrote a single line of code, right? So we knew that we need to be ready for that aspect of it. So let me give you an example, right? My previous company at Hyperfine in 22, we did six 510K submissions in a year, and we did 16 software releases of a portable MRI scanner, a hardware medical device,
Right. Wow.
right? That is insane amount of
Yeah.
releases.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where we build our muscle, right? From Microsoft days, we did our first computer vision machine learning based FDA submission in 2011 with multiple submissions at Higgy, with then having a medical device as like an MRI scanner going through that many per year. So that became the muscle on how to do this and how to build your processes in a smooth way. And you can't do it after the fact. You have to
Right.
start from day one to do this. So that's the secret sauce there.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So looking ahead, how do you envision Hopper's technology transforming radiology practice over the next 5 to 10 years?
We always overestimate what we can do in 2 years and underestimate what we can do in 5 years, right? At this pace, all this stuff is happening. I mean, you saw DeepSeek came out and then Manus AI came out last week, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And at that pace, it's really, really hard to predict what's going to happen in 2 years,
Yeah.
forget
Yeah.
5, 10 years. So what our vision is that, in 10 years, every single medical imaging study is running through the Hopper's inference engine
Yeah.
to understand quality related issues, to understand workflow related issues, to understand diagnostic related issues. Like that's the whole idea here. There's so much we can do to improve. If you just think one example, right? Let me give you one example. And I start with the patient first
Yeah.
problem. Let's take screening mammograms.
Yeah.
15% of screening mammograms are repeated. And why are they repeated? Because of motion artifact, incomplete anatomic coverage, patient forgot to not wear deodorant
Yeah.
on air, or patient had dense breasts, or maybe the suspicious finding they need more imaging, right? But what's the process today? Screening mammograms done within 48 hours, 72 hours, somebody looks at it and realizes this needs to happen, right? Then patient gets a letter in the mail
Yeah. Yeah.
saying additional imaging is needed, right?
Right.
No reason why, right? But nobody explains it. Now, obviously,
Uh-oh.
look at it from a patient point of view. A patient's
Sure.
freaking out because they will
Sure.
assume the most worst case
Sure.
scenario. Now they're trying to schedule coming in, the amount of, like if you don't want to get an ultrasound done in LA right now for breast, it's 6 month wait
Oh my
time.
goodness. Wow.
And just imagine the stress that happens. And then what
Sure.
happens is people start shopping around at who can get me in early,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So then the imaging center is losing their business because they can't accommodate somebody else is going, and there's just total chaos. And
Right.
there's stats that you lose about $7 per patient if you have to repeat any imaging
Oh
around that
wow.
aspect of it, right? So we look at all the mammograms, 15% need to be repeated. That's a lot of
Yeah.
waste that is happening.
Yeah.
Now, just imagine as soon as the scan is done, it is sent to the HOPPR inference for QA check
Yeah.
and comes back and alerts the tech before the patient leaves.
Oh
And
wow.
imaging is done, or the scan is converted into a diagnostic exam right now because it's just finding or any kind of quality issues fixed right there and there.
Yeah.
Or if the ultrasound needs to happen because of dense breast, it's scheduled before patient leaves.
Right.
The patient anxiety is gone.
Right.
You've captured the missed revenue that you were having. And overall, end to end, every process of the chain is completely solved, right?
Right. Right.
I'm just taking one example
Right.
of one study that how you can address this. And it's a huge impact on ROI to the whole system.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. Cool. Cool. Good. So, I mean, obviously AI in healthcare is very exciting. What advice do you have to other healthcare AI CEOs that are embarking on the journey that you've been on?
My first advice would be partner with Hopper.
Yeah. 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 Okay, good. You're allowed to do that.
No, I think the advice is always the same, right? It's at the end of the day, we are all serving the patient,
Yeah.
right? Even though we are B2B business aspect of it, if we don't see from the patient point of view, we will not think about the right solution. If it's not, our AI is not improving outcomes or workflows in a meaningful manner, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right. And so how do we think about that aspect of it? Right. If you do the right things, your revenue and all this stuff will happen. Right. And that's how you think about it. I always think about it in 10x, right? Can you make something 10x better, 10x faster, 10x cost effective in delivery, in patient care, right? What is the patient value equation
Right.
for your product? Right. So, and that becomes the important. Figuring that out is the key. And if you can provide that patient value equation, a high value to the patient, everything else trickles down automatically.
Excellent. So I just want to give you a chance, Con. You'd mentioned use Hopper. I mean, so how do organizations work with you in your team? Give us an example maybe of.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think so we're working with a large PACS vendor right now that is deploying, multiple different models in terms of, negative triage, majority chest X-rays that are done that are normal, right? Almost 80% of outpatient chest X-rays are done as normal. If you can identify those and prioritize those or deprioritize those versus the positive ones, you can have a lot of efficiencies in performance aspect of it, especially on call type of thing scenarios, right, where you're paying high rates to tele-rad companies or somebody else to do this, and those can wait till the next morning aspect of it, right? So what they do is they come with the problem that they're trying to understand from the customers and from the patient point of view. They work with Hopper to fine tune Hopper's foundation models for those use cases, right? And every use case is different, right? Somebody wants high sensitivity for certain things, somebody wants high negative predictive value. So you tune those models according to the aspect of it, and then they do an API integration with Hopper's models, and that's it, right? And the way we've developed our API is that if you want to hit a different model, it's just an API ID change in the
Yep.
same API call.
Gotcha.
And your product is now AI enabled.
Cool. Excellent. Well, this has been an extremely enlightening conversation. Really, congratulations on your success to this point, and
Thank you very
wish
much.
you all the best of success going forward.
Thanks, Dario. This is a
Thank
pleasure
you.
talking to you.